Yeah. So, Jodie Whittaker this week becomes the 13th Doctor. I'm ready to go. Got my TARDIS. Got my sonic screwdriver. And surprisingly, while I already did my kind of build up for her tenure kind of earlier in the year. I did kind of a marathon that basically went through Rose, The Christmas Invasion, The 11th Hour, and Deep Breath. That was the one I planned to do, and that I've already done. However, before she actually arrives this coming Sunday with The Woman Who Fell to Earth, I actually chose to do something that I haven't really done. And that was start on Classic Who. Let me make this clear. I was kind of definitely a child of NuWho. Okay, when it arrived in 2005, while I didn't grasp onto it immediately, I was a little bit slow to get into it. I grew to love the show, and kind of NuWho, it's remained one of my favourite shows. It's definitely in my top three, and I currently own the DVDs of everything from Rose to Twice Upon a Time. I own them all. For a while though, kind of around 2005 to maybe 2007, there was only one classic episode that I really saw. Okay, back from the classic days, and that was because for a couple of years we had the DVD of the Fourth Doctor adventure, Genesis of the Daleks. We eventually lost one of the discs, so we have had to get rid of it fairly recently. I may reacquire it again, but with Jodie set to become the new Doctor this coming Sunday, and with myself having already done the marathon I plan to do, I plan to try and get into some Classic Who. And weirdly enough, I thought it was best to kind of start at the ending. So what I did was get two classic episodes that were the last for their Doctors. William Hartnell's The 10th Planet and Patrick Troughton's The War Games. Both of them being the last episodes for kind of their particular versions of the Doctor. I mean, while both would show up again in later episodes, such as the 3 Doctors, the 5 Doctors, the 2 Doctors, and so on, this was the last one they had with them in the leading role. And I'll be honest, having mostly gotten used to NuWho, Classic Who is very different, but also very much the same. I mean, let's take for example the run times. An average episode of NuWho lasts about 45 minutes, with them sometimes going up to an hour or even an hour and 15 minutes. But they do manage to squeeze a lot of epicness into that 45 minutes to an hour, and yeah, unless it goes into a two-parter, which it occasionally did, they managed to squeeze all that into an entire story and all the action into 45 minutes. Which, for the modern day, that's what we want. However, with the classic era, each episode's only about 25 minutes long, but because each story is multiple parts long, it allows them to tell a much more structured story. They spread it all out over those episodes, and it managed to do it well. I mean, yeah, the 10th Planet recently came back into the public focus with the last episode of Series 10. The last two-parter of Series 10, which was World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls, reintroducing the Mondasian version of the Cybermen, the ones that famously appeared in the 10th Planet. And after watching those episodes and watching these, the Cybermen, they're still fairly creepy. I mean, I thought they were creepy enough in World Enough in Time, and I always thought, going back through books, that the first version of the Cybermen with the cloth faces, I always thought was a little off compared to future ones that made them look more like machines. But watching it through, it was a good story. I mean, yeah, for these two episodes, I'll fill you in on a brief version of how they go. The 10th Planet, the Doctor and his companions, Ben Jackson and Polly, they end up, I think, at the South Pole. or maybe the North, let's just say the South Pole for now, where they encounter a group of people, well, a space station base essentially, who and they have to try and deal with kind of Cybermen who arrive from the planet Mondas, which has suddenly re-entered the universe, and they have to try and figure out how to deal with it. With the Cybermen being very creepy for their first appearance, and I'll give them credit for that. Meanwhile, the war game shows Patrick Troughton's version of the Doctor and his companions Zoe and Jamie McCrimmon and Zoe Hediot. They end up on a mysterious planet made up of... It's kind of like a Doctor Who version of Marvel's Secret Wars, in that a load of people have been taken out of time from kind of specific wars that they were fighting, put onto this kind of new planet in order for a kind of war-obsessed race of aliens to study them. I mean, you've got kind of soldiers and men from World War One. You've got them from the Roman era. You've also got ones from the American Civil War, and they basically have to kind of try and figure out who's behind it and eventually put a stop to it. And both of these were very good stories, although very different to the kind of New Who setting, which, as I said, New Who usually keeps each storyline to about 45 minutes. And in that, they managed to do an entire story packed into one episode, whereas with these stories, in spanning it out, they're allowed a little bit more room to breathe. And yeah. So, yeah, I'm not going to say one is bigger than the other. I mean, I don't have enough evidence to kind of support that. I mean, I've only actually seen three stories from Classic Who, that being The 10th Planet, The War Games, and, for a while, Genesis of the Daleks. So, I don't have enough evidence to say one is better than the other. All I can say is, both of them belong to the same mythos. It makes sense. I mean, they're both different, but they're both the same, and they create a good kind of universe. A brilliant universe. I mean, there's a reason Doctor Who is still one of my favourite shows. And, you know what, I'm not going to apologise for that. It is a brilliant show, and I have only really scratched the surface. By watching New Who kind of most of my life, I've only got through the first layer or so with that. I've got a lot more to go. I mean, obviously it isn't perfect. I mean, with the 10th Planet, technically the last episode is still missing, which, on the DVD here, the first 3 episodes of it are the the original format of it, whereas because the last episode is missing, but they did have the audio, or they did have some record of the audio, it was recreated as a cartoon, an animated, which, yeah, that seems about right. Yeah, seems like a logical thing to do. It is maybe a little jarring to suddenly go from watching it live action to suddenly a cartoon, but you know what, it worked. And if that's what they had to do, I mean, they did the same with Patrick Troughton's first episode, apparently the DVD of The Power of the Daleks, which I haven't yet seen, but maybe I will at some point. So, yeah, turns out I've been taking a back seat for a while. There's a lot more of Doctor Who that I have to get into. But, along with that, we're also getting a great new Doctor coming up this Sunday. Can't wait. Until then, better get to work.